I came home, I didn't have any money, and my dad said, you got to figure something out. I couldn't go back home. I lived with 5 friends at the time, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do what I did in high school. I'm going to walk a lawnmower up and down the streets and see what happens.
Yeah.
And, I earned 10 accounts, and 10 accounts turned into 20, and 20 turned into 50, and 50 turned into 300, and then I started to invest in real equipment and trailers and zero turns, and before I knew it, we had a legitimate lawn care company called Go-To Guys, and that's where I learned business for the first time.
Yeah, what was it like to try to earn those accounts?
Well, it's super intimidating because
yeah, I would think so.
There's 2 ways. It's belly-to-belly sales and internet sales, right?
Sure.
And back then we were fortunate. We had this thing called Angie's List where you could put a little bit of money into Angie's List, and it would put you into the system for consumers that needed lawn care, kind of like Thumbtack today. And I think we still have Angie's List today. It's just not the same level.
Yeah.
And so I put a little bit of money into a machine, $100 into a machine, and we got 10 leads. And 7 out of 10 we would close. We'd go out to the house, meet the client, tell them about our service, impress them, earn the account, service the account, get the referral or the review, and do it over and over and over. And one of the things I noticed about the industry was that most of the competition were out there in dirty clothes, in cutoff sleeves, in
jean shorts,
and very unprofessional looking, lawn care operators.
Sure.
And for the right reasons. You're outside sweating all day, and you've got grass all over you, and you're bleeding, and you've got bee stings, and
yeah.
Nothing against those guys, but I said, what if we showed up in ironed shorts or pants with white logoed polos, and what if we showed up clean cut, no facial hair, haircuts, and we really impressed and were different than the rest. And so we started to do that, and I would carry 5 shirts with me because by 10 a.m. I would be covered and I'd have to put it on a new shirt.
And you'd switch to it. Well, that's such dedication.
Well,
that's
and I would
impressive.
literally do laundry every single night. So
you would have to.
Yeah, so every time we'd go to a new account, I would show up fresh and I would really put my best foot forward.
Yeah.
And it worked because people said, this Parker guy is not like the others. This Parker guy and his company are different, and so it just snowballed very, very quickly, and we had hundreds of online reviews, and then in the winter we plowed snow,
right?
Which was one of my favorite things to do. What ended up happening was I looked at the amount of money I was making, I looked at the trajectory of the company, and I had failed to properly delegate. Yeah. I was always the guy mowing. I was always the guy that made sure that blade of grass was taken care of.
Yeah.
That I was the guy that was collecting the invoices, that I was the guy that was earning the new accounts. And it was that control. It was the white knuckling of, this is my business. Nobody can do it better than me.
Right.
And I ran into a wall in 2014. And I think I made just under $40,000 that year, despite having 500 plus accounts and a bunch of dudes working for us. I had to move on.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like it was one of those moments again where that mentor told me, set a deadline and move on. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that I didn't enjoy it. I just didn't see the long-term trajectory of that business, and Kathy and I were getting serious, and
yeah.
I was thinking about asking her to marry me, and when taking that step, you want to make sure that you're working towards your career.
Yeah.
My dad had come to me and he said, you can absolutely make more than 40 grand a year in real estate, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to be like you. I don't want to work nights and weekends, and I don't want to have to miss games. And
yeah,
my dad did a really good job of time management.
Yeah,
I'll give him that. But I got to see firsthand the life of a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And I think in hindsight now, that's a huge advantage to what I've been able to do here, is I got to decide, do you want to go down that same path, or do you want to build a real estate company?
Yeah.
And so it's funny how life works, but I consider both of those ventures failures. I did fail out in one way or another, but then being able to take that life experience and translate or transition it into real estate immediately gave me an advantage over everyone else.
And still does to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, wait, I want to go back to Go-To Guys for just a minute. What is the highest number of lawns that you cut in one day?
Yeah, so super competitive. I cut 32 lawns in a day. Yeah, and that's mowing, trimming, and blowing with the backpack. We offered weed services,
Okay.
and we were competing with a guy named Weed Man.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's stiff competition. What were the conditions?
Let's take that one step further.
Okay, you keep going.
You know, we would be in people's yards, and so we all know those yards that have dogs. I'm one of them, where you have dog poop everywhere.
Yeah.
And we would just be mowing over dog poop to the point where we're like, maybe we should offer a service where we remove the dog poop
Yeah.
for the owner of the home.
Yep.
And back then there was no scooping service, right? And so we added dog poop scooping to our
Really?
poop scooping to our menu of services.
Okay.
And for $10, we would clean up the yard before we mowed it.
$10.
Just a bargain, right?
That's so great.
So I can honestly say that I scooped poop for a living.
There's not a lot of people who can legitimately say that. That's so cool. What were the conditions when you'd go to a house and you'd be like, oh, this one's going to take forever? Like, how would you know it was going to be a rough one?
I mean, I've been chased by dogs. I've been chased by people. I've heard gunshots. There's been a lot of crazy stuff because we were acquiring accounts online.
Yeah.
And they'd say, hey, my commercial building, you know, in Minneapolis needs to be mowed, and you get up there and the grass would be 4 feet high, right?
Oh my God.
And there was a lot of interesting stuff that happened during that time, but most of our accounts were in Dakota and Scott County in the South Metro.
Okay.
Proudly, I serviced all the Chick-fil-A's in the Metro.
That's great.
But in the winter, so the most number of driveways I ever serviced, and my other crews had a driver and a shoveler.
Yeah.
I went out by myself.
You just were solo.
I was solo, and I ended up doing nearly 100 in one night, which is back-breaking work. I mean, it's residential driveways. It wasn't like parking lots.
Ugh.
But I loved it. I mean, I got to go out there and help people out and make money and work all night, drive big trucks, and, you know, don't be surprised if someday I get back into that business.
I would
Let's just say
never
that.
be surprised by any new enterprise you started. Do you now enjoy cutting your grass or shoveling your driveway?
Coincidentally, I have a lawn service now.
And soon your kids will be old enough to scoop poop.
Yeah, and Harrison and I will definitely be starting Go-To Guys 2.0.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's so fun.